Okay, let's see what's happening. Yeah, you'll probably hear my child yelling and screaming a lot. Okay, looks like we're about to go on. Okay, awesome, and we are live. So let me get back my notes. Uh, what's up, everybody? This is John from Coding Addict, and welcome to another Power Hour Web Dev live stream, or we can go with Web Dev Power Hour live stream. And today we've got a very, very cool show for you since we have an awesome guest to talk about his journey in web dev. As always, I'm joined by one and only Mr. Paul Bradlowski, the mastermind behind the YouTube channel Coding After 30. Again, Paul's channel is Coding After 30. You see, I'm getting better every week.
Yeah, I like how you say it every time because you constantly get coding after 30. 30 is the key term because I'm 40 now, 41 technically. And so it makes me feel good.
Yeah, but this is the funny thing when I record courses as well, where you can just get some like weird words that I cannot. Sometimes I'm stuck on what's up, everybody. I cannot. I have to say 7 times, and I cannot get it right. And like I said, we have today awesome guest. We have Alex on, and for everyone who has been following this awesome show, one and only show you should be watching. I'm kidding, of course. He's the person who's always helping you on the other side, which we're very, very grateful. And he has a very cool
Grateful to be
story.
here.
His web story. How are you doing, Alex? Thanks for coming on.
I'm great. Thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. It's actually a bit nostalgic to be here on John's podcast. Seeing 2 years ago, I never know what a variable was, and your courses and everything helped me and guided me to the place where I'm at today. So it's kind of a big deal for me. So thank you for having me, and to everyone who's listening, I just want to say hello, world.
Yeah, and from both of us, from me and Paul, like huge thank you
awesome
for
to have you,
everything
yeah.
you do behind the scenes. I mean, you're making this like what we always want this to be, like a place where we can just, come and communicate, talk about stuff that we like. And it's with us just sometimes going off rails or whatever, we're not probably the best always to follow the comments. And that's why it's really, really nice that you always follow up. You always give your best opinion. And I always, when I'm going through it, it's just really awesome. You make this place basically what we intended to be, so we're very, very grateful for everything.
I'm like, we have wait, they got answered, and that is a good answer. Wow, who did? Oh, Alex got it up. Yeah, he got it. So,
yeah,
and a lot of times I'm like, I'm glad he answered it because that's a way better answer than what I had planned.
Yeah, exactly. Now before
it's the least I can do. The least I can do.
Thank you. And before we start grilling Alex on pretty much everything, starting with his first, I don't know, middle school girlfriend or whatever, I just want to mention that
I hate that woman. I'm joking.
Listen. I didn't have a girlfriend in middle school.
I don't even know what is middle
high
school. We
school.
never had it, but I was just, I didn't know, like preschool, but that's too early, I guess. We do like finally. I was done with Merlin. Like I said, I spent few, I would say 1 or 2 days. Basically, there is a podcast right now. If you go to Web Dev Power Hour, not Web Dev. For some reason, I shared that.
I was
Twitter.
like, I wonder what website that is. I'm going to do research.
No, well, maybe it's about Debbie who does the web. I don't know, but yeah, that was
coding challenge.
Yeah. So yeah, if you go to Web Dev Power Hour, you'll see all the episodes, so you can listen to while you walk. And there's also, I did set it up on Spotify, so it's also there, Web Dev Power Hour, and also Apple is there. But I haven't checked since I don't use Apple Podcast, but it's there. At least they sent me an email that everything is live. So
Cool.
That should do it for the announcements. There's really not, again, we're not going to do weekly tips. There's going to be no theme. Pretty much everything is going to be from now on about Alex. So Alex, do you want to give us a little intro, like who you are, like where you're from, and what do you do, and all of those cool things?
Well, I'm obviously from Romania, like everyone probably already knows. And on the professional background story, I worked in sales most of my life, medical sales. I have no computer science history. I wasn't great at math or anything like that. I'm actually lacking in math, and it's something I'm trying to, start getting into, because I was good once upon a time. And yeah, I wanted to get this out there, because when I was, starting into programming, I wanted to find someone that has made it through, and just gave it to me straight, like, look, man, I have no computer programming. I had no idea what a variable was, what const was, let was, anything. And here I am. So here I am.
And basically, your daily life right now, you work for a web dev company.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah, exactly. I'm a software engineer, and at a big international company. It's actually ranked at number 65 on the world companies worldwide, as I've researched it. So yeah, it's real. The dream has become true. I work for a tech company.
awesome, awesome, awesome.
Do you like wake up in the morning still and be like, I can't believe this is happening? Or are you used to it?
um, no, the thing is, about waking up I still have that same passion for coding, as it's like the first day, which
Yep.
has never happened to me with anything else in my life, because it was one of the things why I considered switching careers, because I felt that emptiness in what I was doing. Like, I thought I could do more, that I could progress more. And so I kind of changed companies, because I thought it was the company's fault that I feel that way, but it was just I wasn't happy with what I was doing. So now I'm happy. I don't feel that anymore. I feel like I feel like I'm in the right place. I feel like I'm doing the right things. I'm at the door. I'm not that high in. Like, I feel like I could grow enormously, but yeah, I don't feel that emptiness anymore.
Nice.
Yeah, that's one of the things we had with Alex called during the week, and we both like were laughing that I also like when we both got our like first paychecks. It feels like you're robbing the
Ye-
company. You're like you
yeah.
don't understand. Like we were both saying, like we would do it for free. Like you're so excited to just to code for your living that it's like, look, I'm just gonna do it for free. So that was like hilarious. And let me add like one more thing. If you want to ask the question, so I'm gonna try to monitor as because uh, in this episode, Alex will do the most of the talking. So and then
Yeah.
we'll try to monitor. So if you have a question for Alex, we'll
Yeah,
definitely
definitely
will
ask.
yeah definitely ask. We'll pass it on. So do you want to like give us a little like how did you get started? Like what was your first steps? Because that's always like one of those like I would say probably toughest ones because it took me a long time just to believe that the coding is real. And then you start slowly, looking for those resources. How was that? How was that for you?
Well, I'm gonna combine like what I did and what I should have done. I
That's
took a few
awesome.
notes. So I think the first thing what you should do when you is to figure out why you want to do it. Like, why do you want to switch careers? Why do you want to start programming? Is it for the money? Is it for fulfillment? Is it for you working remotely from anywhere in the world? Because if you don't have a strong reason behind doing it, then you won't last in the struggle, so to say. Because programming is, everyone says, if you go on YouTube, hey, anyone can code. It's easy. Anyone can code, but it's not easy. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the hours. You have to make the sacrifices. You have to be committed like 300% and a little more. So if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, then you won't last. So decide why you want to do it. Is it, the reason has to overcome the snooze button. So I heard that in a motivational speech, so I wanted to throw it out there, because you know as you guys may know, I wake up really, really early in the morning.
I think Alex never
So
I
sleeps,
thought you
by
just
the
don't sleep.
way.
Yeah, yeah, I just stay up. I was like, oh, yeah.
I actually sleep. I wake up at somewhere between 3:30 every day. From Monday to
Wow.
Monday, and
That's
that
crazy.
gives me like 6 hours. That gives me my work starts at 9, so that gives me an extra 6 hours to do whatever. If it's, working on, a work project that I'm, lacking on, or learning something new, or exercising a little bit, on Node or whatever. Going through John's new course, the MERN course, I'm gonna start that on Monday. So yeah, you have to, your motive has to be stronger than anything, that anything else. So that would be step one. Just know why you're doing it. uh Step two would be choosing a stack. Like, I see a lot of questions out there. I'm still on the groups, the Facebook groups, the ones I started in. And I can always see, is it worth learning Python in 2021? Is it worth learning React or JavaScript or Angular or Node, Python, whatever? um, the stack is just it really depends on you, what you want to build. Like for me, I'm going to try to stay still because I can see myself moving a lot. So
Don't
it's
worry
really
about
hard for
that.
me to
Don't.
Fine.
We
it's
do
really
bunch.
hard for me to
I think we just do all the wrong things here, and this is what this podcast, live stream / podcast, is all about. So yeah, no structure
yeah.
here. We can move all day long like this.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's why
So
John has me so close, because I'm like shaking the table.
No, I remember. Like, sorry to interrupt you, but no, I remember the first time when me and Paul, before we went live, we were just talking. We're like, okay, so this is about to happen, and it's like, but we were just saying to each other, like, look, like, what's the worst thing that can happen? I mean, people can turn off. That's it. There's nothing else really. Anyway,
yeah, but the
sorry to
video is still
interrupt.
on
Just
YouTube after that.
yeah.
Millions of
That's
people are gonna watch
Yeah,
it.
okay.
yeah. Feel
That's
free to whatever. This is the place where we don't really care. We just want to talk about stuff that we like to talk about.
We love,
So
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
don't worry about it at all.
So the stack, I was saying, the stack is just a tool. You want to build mobile apps, you go to Java and Swift or whatever. You want to build websites, you go to HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and a framework. You want to build mobile apps, whatever. The stack is just a tool. For me, I always knew I wanted to build websites because I looked at it as a business. From a business point of view, there's always going to be businesses that are going to need websites. So you can't go out of business with something that is always needed on the market, like a website. Anybody needs a website. So that's why I said, okay, I want to build websites. um, and that's how I choose the stack. The way I started is a bit funny because I had no idea what Udemy was at that point. I had no idea about anything. I just saw a guy on YouTube that said anyone can code, and I said, okay, maybe I should try it. And he actually made a reference to Free Code Camp and some other stuff that I don't even remember because I didn't pursue that. But I started with Code Camp. I joined their Facebook groups. I've joined basically anything that you can join and just start reading the comments. And people would give advice. Some senior devs or whatever, go here, go there, go to this website, go to this app. So that's how I made my way up to Code Academy, where I made like a paid subscription, so I could take it really a bit more serious because when you spend a little dime on it, you have to show up.
Yeah,
um, yeah. So I actually had a few apps on my phone because I was so obsessed with it that I wanted any minute I could spare in the day. I wanted to be focused a little bit on coding. So like you guys mentioned Dave Goggins at one point, and
yeah,
he has
yeah,
I
yeah,
really like
yeah, yeah,
really really like
yeah.
him. I'm a big fan of motivational
Paul
speakers,
introduced me
and
to to David Goggins, and I couldn't be happier.
yeah, yeah. The favorite part is the cursing. Like,
Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah, he's very good at it. What about
yeah.
you,
Yeah,
Paul?
yeah.
So
Did you?
he
I'm sorry to interrupt
no
you,
no go
Alex.
go, go.
What about you, Paul?
No,
Did
don't
you
worry.
start in like one of those code academies or whatever, where basically when you have
I mean,
text
I
boxes?
started and quit because I actually was going to ask Alex a question because I like the fact that he once said that you have to have a strong motivator, whatever it is. And lucky
Yeah,
for all three of us, I know we like it. And, because coding, like you said, anybody could learn it, but it is really difficult. So my question
yeah.
was actually going to be to Alex, because I made a lot of mistakes. Do you feel that a lot of people that are like brand new starting out, do you think they're because of YouTube and everything else, and everybody talks about like learn coding in like 2 weeks, made $1 million. Like, do you think people underestimate what it takes to be a junior developer?
Yeah. I think the YouTubers downsell it because of the views, because people like to
Right.
daydream. I like to daydream because actually I was daydreaming when I found that guy's YouTube channel saying that you can learn to code. I was daydreaming because I was always thinking like this was supposed to be my lane, because I was like a computer guy. I like computers. I like the internet. Assume a lot of content on. So I felt like, man, this was to be something I wish I should in it, and I'm not. So I was daydreaming on that YouTube channel, and people do that, and YouTubers undersell the struggle for the.
Oh, oops. Looks like. Can you still hear me?
Alex, I can hear Alex. I think we lost your audio. Not sure
Yeah.
if it's on our end.
Yeah. Can you call us back, please, Alex? Yeah, for me it was funny that my first thing that I also what I started with was oh, there is Alex. It was the Code Academy where
All
basically
right.
Yeah, you're
sorry
back.
Alex,
You're
yeah,
back.
we
You
lost
were
you.
talking about, we were like daydreaming about
Daydreaming, yeah.
coding and watching other YouTubers, and so
Yeah, yeah,
continue.
yeah. So people like to daydream. People like to hope. Hope is they like to dream and hope, but some of them just don't do anything about it specifically. They just think, man, I should do this. I could do this, but they end up never doing it actually. So yeah, it's a thing. You can I would bash a YouTube channel, but I shouldn't. But I'm just
Let's
gonna say
not,
that I was following I was
because I won't be
following a
able to
guy that would
stop.
say,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's a
like,
long list. We're
yeah,
just
but
gonna
this one, I actually wanted to go in the comments like, man, you're full of, I started listening to him when I was starting up. It's like, yeah, I learned coding and to become a software developer in 3 months, and I didn't even own a laptop, and I was coding on my girlfriend's laptop, and I got a job. Like, how, bro? How? I was in like
Yeah,
six
yeah.
months in, and it's like I
yeah,
can't
no,
even
no,
Like,
write
no.
a function by myself. Like,
Yeah.
what did you do at your job? Were you the janitor or something? Give us
here's
some specifics, 'cause it's not how it
because here
works.
the crazy part for me, and I get reminders like sometimes, like in real life, is that like luckily as a self-taught developer, I was able to land a job, but it was a lot of sacrifice, a lot of work, and I know it's possible. But we had,
Yeah.
but we had, it wasn't me. I swear,
that,
it was my talk.
No, no,
that,
it was my desk. It was my desk.
No,
It
it's
was my
okay. It's
desk.
okay. It's
it
okay.
I
was
have one of them
Okay,
standing up
we'll say
desks,
it was
and
your desk. We'll
it was the
we'll
It was Dracula. I think that was like. Do you get that a
I,
lot? Sorry to interrupt.
no. But I
What
was
about the
gonna say,
Dracula? Sorry, Paul. I'm sorry.
go
Tell
ahead,
us
go
what you're
ahead.
gonna
It's
say. I'm
fine. It's all
sorry.
good. It's all good.
No, no, no,
No,
no.
Go
I
on.
really want to. I
it's
want to know
tough.
what you want to
It's
say.
tough when we have three people. It's like it's anyway. Yeah, no. Paul was talking.
No.
So
I was saying
Yeah,
that like a lot of people, like, what do they think when they like, try to get hired? Because you have to understand, you're maybe coming from a self-taught path or whatever path, but there's other candidates who come from traditional like CSS degrees or like math background and are competing for maybe similar jobs as you. And so there's a lot to
yeah,
learn. And what you have to understand is that in order to stay relevant, you have to continue to learn. So at my job, and I was about to ask you another question in terms of like imposter syndrome, but at my job, they hired a new developer who's like, like fairly junior, but he's a very smart guy, and he like, able to pick up things like much quicker than I can. And I like fall into like this comparison, like, oh my God, like
yeah,
this, why is this guy able to do that and I can't? And it's just like, the truth is, you don't know everybody's story, but at the same time, like, it's not a job where you could get and coast. You got to constantly continue learning, continue moving, and it is rewarding
yeah.
because you increase in your ability, therefore you're able to provide more value. But I was going to ask, like, how was your first 2 weeks at your job starting out? Like, what was that like?
Basically bunch of trainings and access to all the platforms and all that stuff.
Okay, the two
But
weeks after the training, let's go there. You know what? I laugh because my first company I got hired, they didn't have that, so I always assumed that everybody else had the same experience. So every time I hear
yeah,
that people had normal onboarding process, a little piece of my heart like cries a little bit.
Christ.
Uh, because yeah,
especially
but
the fact with you didn't get a laptop. How didn't you get a laptop? I'm still, I'm
seriously,
still mind
oh my
blown
god.
about that
Listen,
stuff. You,
listen,
you guys
listen,
don't get
listen,
laptops.
listen. I'm about to like, if I could reach around, I'll take your laptop. No, but but yeah, how was your like the let me like rephrase the question. How was your first 2 weeks after training when you actually started working on stuff?
Well, I thought I was gonna get fired, basically. Every second of every day, it was just looking at the code. It's like, what is this? This is not something I've ever seen, like ever. But you know, like you guys said, you have to show up. You have to show up and put in the work. That's something I have in my mind. Like, okay, I don't get it now, but I'll get it eventually.
Yep.
I'll just come and read it and reread it and reread it. 100 million times if I have to until I get it. And about the imposter syndrome, it's actually something that everyone should look at in sort of way, because it's real and it's happening, and it's happening to me still. I'm like, if when the going gets tough, you're always going to ask yourself, am I supposed to be here? Maybe it's not for me. Maybe uh I was lucky to be here, and they made a mistake on hiring me. And then you go and think, no, I deserve to be here. I've put in the work. I can do this and that and that, and I'm gonna pull through and work hard. Because also something from a motivational video that got stuck with me, it was, someone said that when things get harder and darker, I just work harder. So
Yep.
that's something I try to do myself. Like, when I get scared, or I just go back to basics, or go and read a little more on the problem that I have, put in more work, and then you get it done.
Yeah, and
It
watch some
worked for
David
me.
Goggins. Yep.
Watch
Yeah,
some
I
David
definitely I
Gear.
definitely watched David Goggins. Like
So
when he start cursing, he gives me
yeah,
like that pump.
here's one thing, like because joking of course, but Alex, like I like you already because you're big on motivation, because I love motivation, and
Yeah,
John
I love it.
sometimes is like, here goes Paul again giving a
Okay.
motivational talk.
I haven't
So
said that.
so this is good because it's 2 against 1 now. That's all I'm saying, so but the one thing that I want to say on motivation, because I do like to talk, and what I don't what like I guess when like one point I want to say, like, you could be motivated, but if you don't do the work, you're
Yeah,
not gonna get anywhere. So a lot of times when I say stuff that sounds like motivation, it's not that I'm trying to motivate you. I am just like very passionate about like how much work I had to do to get there, and I want people to realize that it's hard. It's not something that you could
it
do
is.
like quickly. And so to follow up on the question I asked you, somebody Brian asked, what were some of your first tasks and projects you worked on when you started?
Well, so I worked at two different companies. The
Okay.
second company is a tech company. The first one wasn't. So it depends on the company and the projects. They could have you working on some. So the first company had WordPress projects and coding projects. On the coding projects, they'll have you work on small bugs, like something you can handle because you're a junior, just so you get familiarized with the code. And on the WordPress part, you're in the woods, so to say. You have to you have to get things done on the live website, and then you have to not bash it at the same time. Something I kind of did at the moment, but I pulled through, so to say. But uh, talking about from a tech company perspective, they'll have you working on small bugs just to get you familiarized with the code, because it's not going to be a small project that you're gonna something you did in your portfolio project, like a 3-page website. It's gonna
Right.
be hundreds and millions of lines of code, and you have
Yep.
to get familiarized with everything that does the functions, the pages. That it's gonna be the wild wild west of code, so to say. So they'll try to give you stuff to get you familiarized with the project,
So
basically.
one thing you said, like you felt like you were probably going to get fired, and I felt that feeling too when I got started. And I thought it was like maybe because I was unprepared or whatever. But then I talked to a bunch of other people that recently got hired, and they're all like, "What the hell is happening right now?" Because it's one thing, like you're saying, working on your small project, but going to something which has like a huge code base with like
Yeah,
thousands upon thousands of lines, and you kind of have to make sense of like what things do. And not only that, like you also have to understand like how everything fits together with the whole complete project that they're building. But one thing
yeah.
on that, when you were getting stuck, like did you have people that you were able to ask questions, and were you afraid to ask somebody because you felt like it would kind of throw you under the bus because it would seem like you don't know anything? Because that's the problem I had until I figured out the right thing to do. But what was your
Yeah,
experience in terms of that?
yeah, I still get that sometimes. Like, man, should I ask this, or was I? Am I supposed to know it already? And you kind of get in your feelings about asking it because it might put you in a bad space. But then, I think that any questions that you don't know the answer to is a good question to ask, because if you don't know the answer, then you can get whatever task you have done. And you're not stupid if you don't know. You're basically stupid if you don't know and you don't ask. So
Right.
any no question is a bad question, because if you have a question, then it's something you don't know, and if you don't know something, you can fix whatever task you have. So you have to just ask, even if you feel in a certain way, like,
Yeah.
man, I should know this, or should have I know this, whatever. Just ask the question. What's the
Yeah.
worst they just gonna fire you, and you just find another job. I'm joking.
Alex, I'm gonna make a T-shirt. I'm gonna split the proceeds, 10% for you, and some for John, and the rest for me. But you're only stupid if you don't know something and you don't ask a question. Look, I already messed up the quote. The way it came out of your mouth sounded really good. I really like
Thank you.
that. It's
Thank
really
you.
good, really good. I'm gonna
Thank
write
you.
that down
Yeah, I want
somewhere.
to
Thank you.
piggyback on something that Paul asked you earlier about the
Yeah.
motivation, because here and there I get this. Well, not here, not me, but we both get here in this live stream where basically, uh, what to do if you don't have the motivation. And like Paul said, like pretty much like we all like it was right away we liked it. So there was and for me it was always the case. Like, look, if I don't do this, if I don't go through whatever the process of learning and interviews, then the only other option is going back to work that I already hate. Was there ever a
Exactly.
point for you when you were going through the whole thing where, I mean, definitely you didn't quit. I mean, that's clear. But when you were
Yeah.
like, what was, apart from David Goggins and everything, but was there like some kind of just clear message? Basically, did you ever had like, I mean, doubt, of course, but like, how did you like motivate? Because this is what people ask. Well, how do you motivate yourself? And it's always very tough for me to answer. Like, what is it for
Yeah.
you?
Well, you have to, first of all, you have to remember why you started. Like, why did I start coding in the first place? It was
Mm-hmm.
because I hated my former boss, or I hate my job, or whatever, or I need more money. If money motivates you, because if you only do it for the money, I don't. Money has to be a really big motivator for you to get where you're supposed to be. If you're just being motivated by money, and you don't like coding at all,
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it working. But you never know. Money has a lot of power, especially in these days. But yeah, I I always remember why I started. I'm a big fan of motivational videos. I put them on. Like, my wife hates me because I put like compilations of hours of motivational, so
David
I don't have to
Goggins.
switch on YouTube. And it's very loud in the house. Like, what are you doing? Why are you here? What's it, the neighbors? And I'm like, maybe they can use some motivation themselves.
Yeah, exactly. They should get a job and start a little coding.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But I
Um,
was gonna say
what?
like, since we're talking
Yeah,
about motivation, just real quickly to interrupt, like, because I have days like that where no amount of motivation is helping. Like, do you have? Because I know like a lot of times people put their best foot forward in a lot of stories they tell, but do you ever have moments where you're just like, this is just not feel good? Like, because I have days or weeks sometimes where I'm not motivated at all, and I like to think of it that maybe it'll pass, like the weather, so I just show up, but I don't feel
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Do you have days like that sometimes?
Well, you have to diversify a little bit, because if the day has a lot of hours, and if you spend all those hours into the code, you at a certain point you're just gonna get burned out. So work out, like, working out helps like a lot in these days. Like, just go to, 1 hour at the gym will do magic for you. And I know you do sports, so I know you probably work out, but probably in those days you're lacking, you're not going to the gym, I think.
I think we
Damn,
should invite
count me out.
Paul's
Count me
fiance
out.
on this conversation. She's gonna
Uh,
tell what's happening. So yeah, no, 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 no. But
I sometimes eat chocolate. Chocolate gives me. I eat a lot of chocolate. It's one of my bad things, but
Fuel for the brain.
should. Yeah, yeah, no, it's not good for the brain, but it's good for the motivation. It's
I
bad
just
for the
tried to help
brain.
you out. Just tried to help you out.
Yeah. um take a break. Usually when you feel like you're overwhelmed, just take a break, go to the movies, watch some Netflix, but don't overdo it, because you have to have one of the other steps. That I have some notes here. I'll try to go through, but one of the other steps is having a really strict schedule. And in your schedule, make sure you have something for yourself, because coding is like, mm, not to say your full-time job, but it's your full-time dedication. And you have to have something for yourself, like going to the gym. For me, I like going to the gym. I did sports myself. Back in the day, I was really big on boxing, just
Nice.
for myself,
nice.
because I like it. And I still have love for it, and I still do it from time to time. I try to do it 3 times a week. Maybe I do it twice a week, but I still try to go there. Sometimes I put on, I've watched The Witcher lately. I've seen all the second season in a day because I don't have time to go on Netflix every day. But
Yep.
and if I do, I don't want to use it on Netflix. I prefer
Yep.
to put on a tutorial or something, or a JavaScript refresher or whatever.
Yep.
So from time to time you need to take a break, but just watch out how big that break is, because if you take a too much of a big break, then you'll start to like not putting in the work. Like, today I'm tired. Nah, I don't feel like coding. No, you have to feel like coding, because that's why you started. Go and code.
So, what kind of exercises did you do at the gym?
Well,
It matters.
basically, I run on the treadmill. Yeah, 30 minutes on the treadmill. Then I do some gymnastics. Then I beat
Oh
up
my
some
goodness.
punching bags. uh, I try to do another 30 minutes on one of them bicycles.
Nice.
Pretty much that's it. Yeah, yeah, it helps. It helps, because I
One
always struggle with weight loss, with weight, always.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I,
They had the
I
same
have to be in
problem.
the gym.
Yeah, one thing that I quickly want to add to the entire conversation, for me, one thing that definitely has stuck, and I'm not going to be able to quote the book, and probably I should have while Alex was talking, looked it up, but basically along the lines, the quote was like, look, everybody can go to the highest mountain and look down and feel like, oh, my life is so small and I need to do this, but the real work always starts when you actually get down. It's those small things, right? Like whether I'm
Yeah,
gonna be going to bed at certain times so I can get up early and get the stuff done.
exactly. Yeah,
How am I gonna start a day? Am I gonna start by going to the Facebook, or I'm actually gonna start with things that I need to do? And those like small things over time, they just add up, and that's where kind of this, when it comes to motivation, for me, a lot of it it's one thing. Like it's really nice to listen to people talk about, yeah, you should do this, but at the end of the day, it's always, for at least for me, it's always about those small things, whether I implement them on a daily basis, and if I do,
Yep.
then the success slowly follows, not immediately, but you see right away like better results and
true.
everything.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
And I definitely
So
want to touch upon the job interview process, because that is like, I
Yes.
think
Yes.
there's these kind of few major pillars. The first one is the learning, right? You go through
yep.
tutorials and projects, but then it's once you kind of you're done with that, okay, then it's the real kind of game or whatever when you start applying. How was that
Yeah.
feel like? What like basically your experience, and then we'll probably dissect it even more.
Well, most of my life I changed jobs because I worked in sales, and you know how sales are. You kind of switch companies from here and there. So trying to find a job wasn't something new to me because I've done it so many times. But I knew that, and I also switched careers once more before, but it wasn't like this big of a switch. So I kind of had a plan. Like I from the beginning, I had a plan. I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to learn to code, then I wanted to make a portfolio, and then get at it. And when I when I knew that when it was gonna be time to get at it, it's gonna be a little bit tough. But I also had a plan with that. So I said, okay, I'm gonna start on LinkedIn. So people, get a LinkedIn if you want to get a job, because job is LinkedIn is the Facebook of jobs, and it's not that social. I mean, yeah, lately it is a little bit more social than it should be, but it's for jobs, and people are looking to employ other people on LinkedIn. So that's where you're supposed to be if you want to get a job. Secondly, get a CV. Make it as professional as possible. Write as many lines of things in your CV, and make sure they're the most important ones. Because think about this. Uh, for a junior role, probably at least 100 people are gonna apply for that position, at least. And think of the HR person. Do you really think she's gonna go through 100 CVs like line by line? Okay, where this guy? Okay, what did he did this? No, she's gonna make first of all, she's gonna scan the CVs. Say, okay, this one is really well made. Let me look through it, and she's gonna look through it like this, and that's how she chooses the CVs, on structure, on how well they look, and make sure you don't make any mistakes on that. Because if you have mistakes, that's gonna say like, he didn't really put in the enough the time and the work to make this CV, so he probably doesn't really want this job as bad as as someone else does. So your CV is really really important. uh, I forgot where I where I started from. What was your question then?
Like
Just
your whole like job experience and
Yeah, yeah,
going
yeah.
through
So
like
exactly, yeah.
the
So
problems and the solutions and the
what
whole
helped you?
entire,
yes.
Yeah.
yeah, what helped you.
Well, basically sticking to the plan, because I started applying, and then I was applying and still applying, and the days went by and nothing happened. And I was applying and applying and applying and applying, but I was just applying. I was always reading the job description to be sure that I'm fitful for the position. I didn't want to apply like some senior role, and maybe by chance they would call me and like, I can't come to this interview because I'm no senior. I didn't want to be heartbroken in any way. So I was really reading the job descriptions, and I didn't get any answers. And I remember that one of the first phone calls that I got, they were kind of not taking me that serious. They were laughing at me. Or at least I felt that they were taking me not serious, because there's, so how much money do you want? Oh no, we're gonna pay you a lot more than that. Because I said, look, I don't really know how much money to ask. Just give me a chance. And it's my first interview, my first time switching roles. And uh, I don't know what I'm worth. Like, oh, we'll pay you like $2,000 a month. Yeah, I don't think you're gonna do that. I no. And then I ended up never calling back or anything. um second phone call I had, this is actually a funny story. Second phone call I got was from someone telling me that they're not gonna invite me to an interview. And they're like, hey, you're Alex, you applied for the job. It's like, yes, yes, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And it's like, we call you to say that you're not gonna get invited. So why did you call me then?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
don't call me. Why did you break my heart like that? It's like, get me
Because their
pumped up for
mom
nothing.
doesn't love them, and they wanted to feel like getting
Yeah,
back at someone. That's the only reason
yeah,
people would do that. I mean, honestly,
yeah,
that's
exactly.
terrible.
So my first feedback actually came from one of the hiring developers from one of the jobs that I applied to. He was a really nice guy. He went through my GitHub. He went through my portfolio. He actually gave me a lot of feedback. He actually tried to give me some materials. Like, look, if you need anything, I'm here for you. Just ask any question you want. He was a really really nice guy, and he gave me more motivation. And he put me in a, I was already motivated, but when you just fail, no one calls, and fail, when someone, especially who was a developer, looked through my things and said, you're on the right path, just keep going, keep doing what you're doing, and eventually get there. It was really big for me, and I kept going. So actually, I there were like 3 4 failed interviews before I actually got my first real interview. And
Wow.
actually, my first real interview actually hired me. But the first 3 or 4 were real fails. Like one of them, one of the guys, they got me to the other side of town. on a Monday morning, 8 a.m., raining outside, and they had me in like for like 30 seconds because the senior dev came in with after the HR lady. Me and the HR lady had a few words, and then the senior dev comes in like this. I'm not gonna say it. So this guy, so he looks at my CV and it's like, yeah, you don't have any computer science, background. I'm like, no, man, I'm a web developer. I study, I work hard. Like, yeah, we kind of look for someone with strong algorithmic skills. We have a test. And it's like, okay, give me the test. I know I was gonna fail the test from him, from just looking at him. I knew that it's gonna be a crazy test, but I just wanted to see how the test looks like. It's like, nah, you should go back and go home and study for a little longer and just call us back. And then they
Wow.
kind of basically kicked me out. It's like,
Let me
what is this?
Yeah, let me ask you a
Yeah,
question
yeah, go
because
ahead.
I've done sales for a while, and there's that concept like you're gonna get rejection all the time. And did
Yeah.
your sales training or experience prepare you for that? Like, because it's never nice, but as a salesperson, that's part of your job. But if you don't have any sales experience, let's say you're some guy or girl who's trying to get into development and you hit your first, second, third rejection, they're literally like heartbreaking. But in sales, that's part of your job. So do you think that part of that helped you to continue to push through, or this was something completely different?
It helped in a lot of ways, but in sales they always said that the worst sale is the one that you actually don't show up at. So you're
Yeah.
automatically gonna fail.
Yeah.
But I used to do back to back sales. So you have the same clients. You go to worked as a medical sales, a medical
Okay.
rep. So you have your clients and you're the same
Business to
clients and
business.
just go with your yeah. So I wasn't gonna take no for an answer. Even though if I didn't have this, my sales background and everything, I was gonna go through. It was either coding or I don't know. I didn't know what I was gonna do if I didn't get in this work of field because I was already seeing myself like I had a projection on how everything is gonna be that I didn't see anything else. I didn't see a no, like it's not gonna happen. It was gonna happen. At one point, I was applying and applying and applying. I applied to probably 200 jobs before I got one job. And
Yeah.
my wife was like, maybe you should just print out the CVs and just go to the company's offices and just give them the CVs. I was like, this is crazy. What would they think? And while I was thinking about it, I was thinking like this is actually not that crazy because it will give me an opportunity to be at their offices. So maybe someone as crazy as me is like, hey, you're already here. Just come in. Let's go. If you're here, let's
Right.
go. Let's see what
Right.
you got. And it would show like how motivated you are just to do something. Like probably different than anyone else because everyone applies, but I'm just gonna deliver the CV myself, and make sure that because there are situations with the HR lady won't or sir man won't read your CV because there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of CVs. So if you deliver it personally, that she's gonna look at it. Now I haven't done it, but I was about to. If the job wouldn't come through, I would probably do that as well because that's how motivated I was. I was
Y-
not gonna take no for an answer.
Yeah, like hearing you talk, like it's one thing that kind of like hard to explain. I mean, you could talk about it, but I don't think people understand it, like what it really means. Like a lot of people that I talked to who got the job shared that same kind of uh, attitude, like I am going to get
Yeah,
hired. It just might not be today,
yeah,
but I'm definitely going to get hired because I'm doing all the things that I need to do, and it's only a matter of time rather than like, oh, it'll never happen. And a lot of people that I know who
exactly.
got hired, they all had that attitude. It's like they're not taking no for an answer. And like regardless if it's being delusional or over like confident, like that's the attitude you need to kind of keep doing the things that you're doing before you break through. And it's something that like I did, and it's like I don't know if I purposely planned to do it, but eventually like I was like, no, I gotta show up again, I gotta do this again, I gotta keep reaching out,
Yeah,
and pushing through. And I feel like, oh, like because I can't read people's minds, but like I feel like a lot of people maybe give up too early because they get to a point where they think it's hard. and then they quit, or like it's not for me. Maybe, and I think part of that is because this is like me hypothetically speaking. Part
Yeah,
of it
yeah,
is
no, you're
because they
right. You're right. You're right.
watch a lot of this YouTube stuff where it's like, oh, it's easy, anybody could do it, blah blah blah
Yeah,
blah, and then when they
yeah.
get to it, it's hard,
It's not that
and
easy. Yeah, exactly.
and
It's
it's not
really
that
hard.
easy, and you're like, is it me? No, no, it's not you. It's you're doing
Yeah,
something that is difficult, and it takes time and work. And so a lot of people, like, have hard time understanding, like, why do I always try to continue study? Why do I continue to show up every day? And sometimes it puts strain on your life, especially if the older you are, the less time you have. Let me just say that. It's just
exactly.
a fact.
Exactly.
It's just a fact. And so
Exactly.
I am playing catch up. And so all of my activities, even the fun activities, are code related. And like, if I had more time and I was at a different place, like, I wouldn't do that. But in my mind, like, I feel like there's, like you said, to every junior developer job, there's 100 other applicants. So it's like I'm going to
Exactly.
outwork him like as best as I
Yeah.
can and outdo them. And that's the attitude that it takes. And sometimes people just don't like get to that point where they understand that, or quit pretty. And to be fair, like, I've been at like lows when learning to code, and I could see like how people could get discouraged and quit. So that's pretty
Yeah.
crazy.
And one thing is that it's gonna get harder before it get easier, because you're gonna get hired, and then you're gonna be faced with a lot of new things, and a lot of code written by really good developers, senior developers, and it's gonna be hard to read, and you have to put in the time to understand that, and it's at first it gets harder. It's not easier. It's never easy, actually. You always have to learn something new, and you always have to put in the work, but it's also worth it, because the satisfaction you have when you actually write some code and it works, it almost feels like you have superpowers. Like you put on a live website, and it's a feeling that it gets addictive, basically, for me
And
at least.
since we're on this topic, Joanna M, she says, I feel like I understand things but have trouble actually building something. So this is something I had a lot of struggle with. I know a lot of people still struggle with it, because that's one of the most common questions people ask. Now, like, I know what I started recommending people do, but what have you experienced that feeling, and what have you done to kind of get beyond it?
Well, actually, when something doesn't work, I go back to the basics. Like, my basics are John's courses, and just let me throw a disclaimer out there. John hasn't brought me to this website, to this live podcast to advertise his products.
No,
I'm not getting paid for
no,
advertising his
This
products.
It's
But
funny you say that, because sorry to interrupt, but like, you know what
yeah,
I get now? Because like, I'm constantly on the stream, and they're like, you only talk about John's courses because you're John's stream. I'm like, no, no, no. The reason I'm on John's stream is because I started with his courses and I was able to get a job, but then eventually we got in touch.
exactly.
It's not like I'm on his stream. I'm like, look, if his courses sucked, no, I would tell him. But they're
Yeah,
the
yeah,
best
exactly.
courses, and what I like about it, it's like you come from a place of like, 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 not, I don't want to say like care, but like, you don't want to waste anybody's time with your
Yeah,
courses, and you're very thoughtful with the approach, and you started like a ladder with each, like not ladder, I can't speak, ladder, you climb. It's like with each step you add a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and then
exactly, exactly,
you give
exactly.
so much practice projects in all of your projects, that like, you're doing stuff a lot, and by the time you're done with it, you're kind of like, okay, I'm actually learning stuff. So it's not because I'm on John's stream like Alex here, like, promoting his courses, because like Alex said, they are actually good. So, and continue, sorry to interrupt, talking about how to get past not being able to build something from scratch.
Uh, so I remember, at the beginning, I would, let's say I was trying to fetch data from an API. So I did it like watching the course and do it, watching the course and do it like 5 6 times, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it this time by myself, because I know how to do it, blah blah blah, and then you fail, and then you get a little bit of frustration and say, okay, now I know what one went wrong, and I'm gonna do it again, and then you fail again, and then you fail again, and then you can do it by yourself like 5 6 times, and you fail again, you go back to the course. Basically, that's showing up every day. That's what it means. Just go back to basics until you get it done. Just go do it again and do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again. If you have to do it 30 times, do it 30 times. If you want
So
to, if you want to go through, you have to do it
yeah,
until you make it. Until you get it done. Yeah.
and I have a follow-up question because
Yep.
like you talked about, you tried, you fail, you try, you fail. And do you feel like you learn more and remember more once you fail and then you figure out and you fix it on your own rather than, let's say, watching somebody else explain it on YouTube?
Um, you definitely remember how you got it fixed, how you got it to work. If it doesn't work, it's obviously something you missed.
Right.
And then when you finally see what you missed, and that will stick with you like for the rest
Yeah.
of the your career, probably, because I did this and I spent like a day trying to figure out what it was, and you'll always remember that mistake. At least at least that's how it works for me. Or
Yeah.
if I don't remember exactly what it was, I remember the project, something related. I just go back
You
to
could look it
GitHub
up.
because
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
my
So
Git.
I see
I
that
put
too. Like,
everything on GitHub.
yeah, and that's something
I,
like if I don't remember like the solution, at least I remember where to look it up. But what I found
exactly.
out
Yeah.
through when you build like your own projects and you like crash and burn and then you figure out the solution, it really sticks. And I kind of was remembering, like when you're little, your mom telling you like, don't put your hand on the stove, don't put your hand on the stove. You're like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, until you
Exactly.
put your
That's the
hand on
first
the
thing you
stove.
put it in. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so like to me, I'm like, there's a period at which you should start building your own things, even though it feels uncomfortable, because that's where most of
Yeah.
your learning happens after learning the basics through courses.
Yeah. Exactly. Practice makes perfect. Just do it. What's the worst that can happen?
But
It's gonna be.
oh,
Yeah.
sorry. But
Go
as
ahead,
far
John.
as I
No
remember,
worries.
you basically rebuilt the React projects by yourself. That was
Yeah, I
like kind
still
of your
do. I
approach.
still actually. It's the funny thing is I still redo the projects from John's courses till this day. I just made the birthday app. You have a birthday app. I just made that as a full stack thing. I made a sign in. Made use the
Mm.
database. I've made it like I have trouble getting inspired on what projects to learn, so I just use the same ones. Just add new stuff to them because it's I don't I don't know what to build
Yeah, no, that's definitely
basically.
my approach. I've been saying this to Paul like endless times, and on the stream and off the air and whatever. Where I just enjoy that process of, let's say, there's some kind of application and you already know how to build it with, let's say, just vanilla JS or maybe React. But then when you start learning Express just to test, whether I can do CRUD
Yeah,
or whatever, it doesn't like. This
yeah.
is what I always keep stressing to people. It's not about making original project, right?
No.
E-commerce site is an e-commerce site. Blog is a blog. You need to make it basically. First, you need to make it in order to understand the technology, and the second thing, you need to make it. You can always make it your own by just tweaking little things, and that's it, and you'll be good to go. You don't need to
Yeah.
Yeah,
reinvent the wheel,
You don't
basically.
have to
So,
be
so
yeah,
original in the projects because they're not gonna look like I know this project is from whoever's course. If they think the functionality of the project, if the project from your portfolio fits their project, the one that you're supposed to work on, they're gonna invite you to an interview and they'll know if you made the project or not because they're gonna test they're
right.
gonna test you. They're gonna ask you a million questions like how did you do this? 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 And you have to
So
explain. If you don't know how to explain, then you don't, you'll fail.
mm,
here's like another good like point you just made is that because I know some people I talk to, they'll go through any course. It doesn't have to be John's courses, but they go through any course and then
Yeah,
they put that project into their portfolio, and they never tried doing it on their own, even parts of it on their own. They just like finished it, complete it, forget it. And then when it comes to explain what they did on the project, they're not
they
able to
won't
do
even
it.
remember. Yeah,
They don't even
exactly. Yeah,
remember it.
yeah,
And that's one thing that I kind of found in myself, because no matter how many tutorials I did, I still couldn't do anything because I've never tried building something from scratch. And like to your point, when you crash and burn, you fail, you figure out the solution, that code that you solved the issue to, you will always be able to talk about it. Like you'll
exactly.
never
Yeah, because
you'll never forget
yeah,
it. And that's the experience that you need.
exactly. Yeah. So let me go back to my steps over here because
Listen, he's like, I'm
I
trying to
wanna.
sleep. You guys, I'm
No, no,
trying
no,
to
no,
keep
no,
going.
no.
No,
I'm
I'm
not
kidding.
trying
I'm
to
kidding.
sleep. The
I'm just
day has
joking. I'm
started for
joking.
me.
I'm
Like,
joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. I know
yeah,
you
yeah,
came
no.
prepared.
It's
See, that was your first
yeah,
mistake coming prepared to the stream. John and I,
Yeah.
no, just kidding.
Well,
Just
now,
kidding.
Paul, this is 2 against 1 because I have my notes that don't make
No,
any
that's true.
sense,
That's true. No, no, no,
and
John.
then yeah, this is our. I always laugh about how we have totally, and this is why I also emphasize how there's every person is different. Like this show, for
yeah,
example, right? Paul comes like just shows up and he has way more stuff to tell than me with my 3,000 notes. But everybody has, making those notes. Like at least I'm a little bit like, okay, so I prepared whatever. He just can come here and whatever. And it would be, weird if one of us would start to try to change the other one. How we do. This is just how people
All
yeah,
right.
do it.
All right,
So
fine. I'll tell you
yeah.
my
Exactly.
secret. Before every stream or everything I do, I go in front of the mirror and I do it in front of the mirror. Okay,
repeat
there.
the
That's it.
whole hour.
Yeah, the whole hour, even the jokes, everything, that I plan. Uh, but yeah, go ahead. Yeah, continue with your steps because you actually have really, really good stuff. And what I want to just add to that, when people looking for advice on how to break into the field, obviously there's plenty of YouTubers, like I'm one of whatever, but you want to talk to people that actually did it, right? Alex,
Yeah,
some dude in Romania, decided to
yeah.
change his
Exactly.
life, did the steps, and now he works as a software engineer. Like he has more value to give to you in terms of his like steps, because he just like he's living that life. He's not on YouTube talking about it and not doing it, which majority of those people are. But so continue, please,
So we were talking
Prashant.
about how to pick a stack.
Excuse me.
So after you pick the stack you want to work with, you have to make a learning plan. Like you have to code every day, and you have to set some goals, like long term goals, short term goals. And I always hate when I say long term goals and short term goals, because I think like I always think of that about that movie, think like a woman and act like a man, or whatever the name was. I think I got that messed up, but I always remember that when I say about short term goals and long term goals. But they're really important. Like for short term goals, go to the courses, make a portfolio, start applying. Long term goals, you could set up like uh, become a senior software engineer, whatever, or start having as a long term goal, working or at Google, or whatever you want to reach. Make sure you know what you're aiming for, and make baby steps about it, because if you want to work at Google, from the beginning of your software developer career, it's not going to happen. And at least not for me or anyone else that I've spoken to. It has to be a lot of work, and you always have to have a plan. Or you just do it for 6 months, like other YouTubers do it, and it's gonna work. But you never know. Keep your motivation alive, like you guys said. You have to be motivated. uh, if you're not motivated, then you're eventually gonna fail. uh, you were gonna say something.
Yeah, because I think like talked about setting goals, short and long term goals. How did you keep yourself on track in terms of what to learn specifically for like the goal that you want to achieve? Because when I first started learning to code, literally for the first 4 years, like I went through like 20 different languages and learned nothing. How do you kept yourself like, this is what I'm going to focus on because I know this is what's going to get me hired? Or did you also jump around at the beginning?
Well, I knew I wanted to build websites, so I basically my goal was to become a front end developer. So I knew HTML. I knew I was supposed to learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and a framework. After I've learned those, I was just telling John, I always, for most of my throwaway projects, I would use the Cocktail DB API. So at one point I was like, man, I'm sick of these drinks. I have to find a new API, or maybe I should just learn one for myself. Sorry, make one for myself. So I actually started learning Python and Django, because I've found out that one of my friends was working as a senior software developer using Angular and Django and Python. And I said, okay, maybe this is the chance for me to learn something new. And also I would, if I ever needed some guidance, I'll have someone be there and guide me. So I just picked up Python and Django enough to start making my own APIs, just to make, better front end projects. So
Nice.
the front end, the front end. My goal was always front end, front end, front end. Learn the stacks, learn the stacks. Learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React. And just to be on path, I followed the free code camp, path. Then I went to Code Academy, and then actually ended up on Udemy. Uh, went through a few courses. There weren't enough, and then I said, okay, I have to start making projects. And that's actually how I found John's course. Funny story, because I didn't find John's course on Udemy. I just went on Google and said, searched JavaScript projects, and then this website with 100 JavaScript projects for you came up. And the guy that actually made the site, I think, took John's course, because he had the projects, and then he had his explanations and his logic, and then he had John's logic, and he was always mentioning John. It's like, who is John? I thought that John was his university teacher. That's what I thought, because I didn't know. And then he had a link to John's course. It's like, oh, so this is a course on Udemy. It's like, okay. And then I start going to, I immediately bought it, and I was like, I start going through it. And by the third day, I had to reach out. I said, look, bro, this is great. This is this course is gonna get me hired. I knew it was gonna get me hired, because I saw how well it was structured and explained. Because when and remember the disclaimer, but John's courses, they take you from point A to point B and point C and point D. He knows what he wants to say, when he's recording, and he just says that. He doesn't change his mind. He doesn't starts with the method and then goes to, switching the method, saying, oh, okay, we should add this and we could also add this. No, he has, everything is pre-prepared, and he goes from point A to point B. And you, being a new learner, so to say, that's, you need simplicity to achieve complexity. Like, it
Yeah.
has to start easy, and it has to easily grow to the difficult level. And that's how John's course is. And he also has projects for each section. Like, you learn mapping in JavaScript, and there's a course. And then you go filtering after that, and there's a course with mapping and filtering. And something else, and there's a course with combining all the knowledge you've learned so far. So that's
Yeah.
why his courses are that great. And that's anyone
The,
who wants to. And by the way, he has courses on everything, HTML, JavaScript,
not
React,
everything. He
Node,
doesn't have he
Learn.
doesn't have PHP or Python or Django or any of that other stuff.
No,
He's got
I mean,
very good
yeah.
courses. No, I know. But here's the funny thing: like, a lot of people say, like, Paul, when's your Udemy course for HTML and CSS coming out? Paul, when is your JavaScript course? I'm like, I'm not gonna make a course if, like, John has way better courses than I could make. No. Hold on a second.
Okay.
So I listen. I figured out how to work the system, so don't worry about me, John. But what I'm saying is that
System, yeah.
I figured that out. But here's the thing, like, so this is my sales point. Like, I'm not gonna release courses, but I will walk people through building a complete project, and the prerequisites be, like, if you want to, you don't have to, but you need to take John's courses. Because, like, I'll save from you. I can just tell you, build the thing that you love John's course, build that thing, and all of a sudden you have an amazing project and you get hired. No, but the thing is, like, when someone makes good courses, they're good courses, John. So I know you're very humble.
Yeah,
We understand, but we just want to give credit where it's due, because
yeah,
my job that I got, my first job, I literally just finished one of the React course by John. It was so fresh in my mind. So when I went to the interview, and I also like style components, I took a style components course. Some people, hate it or love it. I love style components, but that company was also using React style components. And so whatever question they asked me, because I just finished the course, was like really fresh on my mind. So I was just like repeating stuff from the course and the stuff that I did, and apparently made
yeah,
me sound smart enough, and I was able to get hired. So see, there you go.
yeah, yeah.
I
Great
have
course.
a for you. Thank you, Paul, and thanks, Alex. It's just, yeah. I always try to avoid kind of, like, I don't I always try to avoid like making this a sales pitch to anything. That's why I always. But no, I
Oh no, I'm
That's
appreciate.
not
why we're here.
recommending it,
Yeah,
Don't
yeah,
worry,
but
no,
we're
no,
don't
no.
get
here.
me
Yeah.
wrong.
No, I just I greatly appreciate, but that's why I always avoid like saying anything myself, because that way I never like when when people like you don't want to, like you guys both know, like, since you both had some experience with sales, well, way more than me, that you don't want to oversell it. That it is what
Right.
it
Yeah,
is,
yeah, yeah,
and then.
yeah,
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
have like bunch of good questions for Alex, like from the stream.
yeah.
So we
Yep.
have first one. Did Alex's portfolio have full stack projects, or did he focus on the front end or back end projects only?
God, I actually looked at my old, I mean, the only portfolio I had, a few days ago, and I was like, man, I should hire myself just to fire myself with this portfolio. The way it looks and the way I would like it to look now, and I would build it now, it's totally different. But no, I only had front end projects because I was going for a front end role, and I from what I've seen and what I've spoken to, people, it's really difficult to get hired as a full stack junior developer. You basically kind of start as a front end developer role, and then you grow yourself to become either a back end or a full stack developer, because nobody's gonna hire you to build. At least what I've seen so far, it's the chances for you to get a junior software developer full stack role, they're kind of difficult. You have to really, really, really be good and know your craft. So I focused on only on front end developer projects, and they basically were all John's projects from the course. Disclaimer.
I,
Remember.
I just have to make the segue here. I totally agree 100%. But if you wanted to add easy to use API that you could practically set up blindfolded and make your front end projects awesome, you just go with Strappy. Strappy is amazing. Like what they
I
say, if
really,
you want to be happy, use Strappy.
yeah, I
Go
really
ahead.
have to look into Strappy to see what it is, because you advertise it so hard. Like I feel like
Listen,
I'm
I
missing
don't.
out. I don't even know
No,
what
no,
it is.
you're not like. So I recommend Strappy for everybody, right? I was talking to somebody and they
Yeah,
showed me how they
I
already created
noticed.
the
I noticed.
they already created the API, and I'm like, look, you already gotten this far. Just build your full stack application completely. The only reason I like Strappy is because working with it more and more and more, I realize how customizable is it, and it's actually a really good tool to use to slowly transition to backend development via Node, because you could literally ease yourself at whatever your comfort level is. And so I haven't also found any projects that Strappy wouldn't be good for, or like, so 90% of the things that I want to build, especially for website stuff, Strappy is a perfect fit. And so I'm like, why would I recreate something from scratch? Um, thinking about like the security, accessibility, all that other stuff, if they already have it in the box for free. So I'll just like stand on the shoulders of giants and build my project from here. And obviously, you know, is like I'm one team developer, so it saves me some time. So I don't think everybody should use it for everything, but I think like if you are looking into front end development and you don't want to do back end, and you want to have that API functionality with something that's easy, Strappy is still like a good sell.
Yeah, I'm writing it down. Check out Strappy, because I always said I wanted to check it out. I always
No, no.
forget, but I'm writing
What
it.
you need to do, Alex? Listen, I'm going to tell you what you need. You need to become expert in Koa, and then you need to teach me all your knowledge.
No, no,
Damn it!
no.
Damn
Don't
it!
get me started. Don't get me started on that path.
It
Don't
is
get me
built by
started.
the same guys who built Express. How bad could Koa be? I
Uh,
think it's amazing. I only looked at the
really?
documentation for 2 minutes just
Yeah, so did
to
I.
tell you.
The title, and
See?
that was basically
Yeah,
it.
exactly. So you should. How do you know it's bad? If I
Well, I don't
yeah,
know. I know it's not good.
listen,
No, I'm,
just
I'm
got
I'm kidding. I actually, the way I feel about, I think that Express is like for everyone, and I think Koa, from what I'm sensing, is like a little bit more advanced. I think from the 2 minutes I spent on the title and documentation, I feel like you have to really know your
all right,
craft
all
to
right.
kind of use
All
it.
right. All right.
That's
I'm
that's the
gonna
feeling I got.
spin it slightly different. I'm gonna say Express is for everybody, but Koa is a more modern and streamlined version of Express, which doesn't cause callback hell. I
Yeah,
think I read
yeah.
that
I
on their
read I
website
read that
somewhere.
I
So
read that on
you
your
read that
website.
too?
Yeah,
Yeah, you read that
exactly.
too.
Yeah.
See, that's the selling point. That's the whole point why it's awesome. I'm just saying that right there. No, I'm just kidding. No, by the way, like all joking aside, um, for anybody that learning or looking to get into development, just because I said code doesn't mean there's jobs in it. Like you definitely have to,
No,
like John says, like everybody says, search in your local area, find out what the most popular stack is, and then create your own plan and path and do that. So
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And there's little documentation on it, like little YouTubes and
they have the
tutorials,
whole
and
website,
if you
the
go on
whole
Udemy, there's
documentation
nothing on
website.
Koa, like
One course,
anything,
okay,
nothing.
one course on YouTube. What, two videos? That's fine.
I
Yeah,
think
That's
I
fine.
8 years
saw.
old.
I
Yeah,
think
they're
I.
eight
Yeah,
years old.
exactly. I didn't know I was 8 years old, to be
I was
honest,
I,
but
I was
Yeah,
but
going
wow.
through the courses yesterday, and since you guys kept talking about, I did think I saw with the corner of
There's
my
one,
eye
one, one,
Koa,
one,
yeah, like
one
somebody
course.
doing something.
One
Uh
course. Because I have it.
we
But
in
I
your
collect
in
courses,
your
but don't take them.
3000 in your
Yeah,
3000
3,000
courses
courses.
you have it. I have one from April, which is going to be pretty much about portfolio, but there's something that I kind of remember that I think that, well, first of all,
yeah.
I
I
I
have a bone to pick with April. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just go ahead, John. I'll say some things
no,
after
no, no,
that.
no, no. For me, it's about CSS, because one of the things that bunch of people, when they're starting out, including me, it was a struggle to get the styling. So the logic, the HTML, everything works fine, but when you need to start styling, that's the issue. Like for me, I started with Bootstrap, and then slowly I kind of migrated towards custom CSS, because for me, I just realized that the more complex you build the project, that you need to set up the CSS anyway yourself. How was it for you?
Yeah.
How did you deal with CSS? What was your solution? How did you approach that? And then we'll go to April's question.
Well, usually when I try to accomplish some JavaScript functionality, I lay out the CSS as minimum as possible. Like I add some padding to just to see around the page, and then when everything is done and works, I just add the CSS. That's my approach on my personal projects. When it comes to work, it's not even in my field. The CSS. I'm focusing on the JavaScript functionality at this point. So less CSS as possible until the JavaScript is done, and then you just add the styling and make it beautiful once it works. Because you can have a beautiful project that doesn't work; it won't help you in anything. So that's my point of view.
But
Yeah, and
like,
I
So
think
April,
did you use the thing is the what's the name, the any kind of like frameworks in the beginning or no?
Bootstrap, Tailwind,
CSS,
whatever.
no, 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 no. I use SAS from time to time, but I don't think that's in the same field as
Yeah,
Bootstrap and.
no, no, no. That's a
I
little bit
actually
different.
tried to use it, but at the beginning when I was looking at CSS, I actually bought your course on Bootstrap because I thought I'm gonna do it. I did a bit of it, and then I was like, no, no, custom CSS for me all the way. It was a little more time consuming just to reach to search the Bootstrap thing that I wanted to do, so I just customized it myself. But it's something that it's worth learning, and you should, after CSS, maybe should pick it up as a side thing, learning Bootstrap and whatever else is out there,
So
because it helps.
yeah, so one thing I would add to that, for like, especially if you're doing stuff by yourself, if nobody's looking at your application and you're just working on functionality, like it's like, first of all, let me back up. You should all learn like CSS, HTML, and
Yeah,
CSS, and
yeah,
SAS,
exactly. Yeah,
whatever. Like you should all learn the basics. But and I used to not like Bootstrap. But the only reason I started using it lately is, at least like, because we use it at work a bunch of places because we have a smaller team, so it makes it much easier to scaffold the entire project, and they'll be responsive. Like you don't have to worry too much about it. So there's certain like pros like you could find. And also, like when you're working on your own, like I don't want to spend an hour, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours doing CSS, because to me as a web developer, it's the functionality of the application that's important.
yeah,
Like, right, I'm not a web
exactly.
designer. So sometimes, like, I'll use Bootstrap to do the basic layout so it doesn't look like ugly, and so I could focus on coding. And what's something I noticed, like if you, let's say, pick one framework like Bootstrap or Tailwind, if you use it consistently over time, you'll start to, do things like much quicker. So
Yeah,
for me,
yeah,
like,
exactly.
there's a place and a need, but not until you guys learn CSS for sure. Um,
Yeah, know to customize your stuff first, and
yeah,
then you
yeah,
can use
exactly.
shortcuts.
Mm-hmm. And as far as the April's question, Alex, what is the powerful project did you make and add to your portfolio that you think is an eye-catching from interview and employer's perspective? Like basically, like how many projects did you have, and what was maybe your most the one you were like, look, this is what I want them to see.
I didn't have like something special, like this is the special project. The so the As I said, there were basically your projects from the courses, but each had a little bit of functionality, different functionality. So it starts from small functionality to big functionality. Maybe I tried to make a e-commerce, cocktail buying website, but it never reached out. It never got to the portfolio because I never finished it. So each project has some functionality, and a developer would look at the project, says, okay, he used CRUD here, he used whatever React here, so something here. So your whole portfolio is a project. Your whole projects are a project. They'll look at everything and see what you use and what functionality it has, and that's eye catching, like what they do. Not it's big, or it has like 10 pages, or it has, it's basically the functionality that you use in your project. You use CRUD operations, they'll know you know CRUD, or at least they'll think you know CRUD operations. You use React, they'll know okay, he has an idea about React. You use JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript, okay, this is vanilla JavaScript. But as far as the eye-catching project, what exactly is eye-catching? The CSS, the colors. What's eye-catching? Because eye-catching for me now, would be the functionality. Like, what does
Mm-hmm.
it do? Does it has a login system? Does it
Mm.
use a database? That's eye-catching.
Pretty much
Not
everything that
it,
Paul is always like emphasizing here, rightfully so.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And it's
exactly.
funny. It's funny. Like on my live stream, like I just do the live stream about building the one portfolio project to rule it all, which I don't know if I'll ever finish because every time something breaks or I add something new to it. But I think like from all the jobs I had, having that basic understanding of authentication, working with a database, like consuming
Yeah,
an API, I think all of that is important. Um, you know, I was gonna say the cocktail app that we built was very helpful for me to make it through my learning journey as a programmer. When I would get upset, I would always randomly start typing and see what new fun cocktail I could find to put me to sleep. I'm just kidding, guys. That was a joke. That was a joke. I just wanted to say it.
so
Listen,
yeah, yeah,
sorry to interrupt, but listen, I always
no
keep
worries.
thinking, what do you really think, like, as far as them making that API, what are their approach that like, do they literally just like search for cocktails and make pictures themselves, or what do you think is their workflow? That always like was curious for me as far as making that API. I think the toughest part is getting the picture, right? Like
Yeah.
setting that kind of thing. Because I mean, data you can like Google it in 3 seconds. But
Yeah.
I always wondered like how do they? Because I want to make my own API, and I always kind of wondered like because you cannot just go and start getting
Their
somebody else's, right? I mean that's
their
kind of illegal,
API
right?
uses somebody else's API. So I did that in Strappy. We had to make like a third party call somewhere. I was like, yes, that
uh,
like it's like how do you get this functionality that Strappy doesn't have? You use Strappy to call that other API to do the thing for you.
mhm.
Again,
No, because I was
just
checking, like I was checking so basically I want to set it up like kind of similar one, sort of similar one, and I was checking that you can get basically, let's say if I wanted to get from the Pexels directly, I still would need to provide my API key in order just to
yeah,
get
yeah,
it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah,
you
yeah.
have some rules and whatever. So if it's my personal project, it's one thing, I can do it. But if let's say I set it up as an API, then it starts to be a little bit kind of iffy. So I would need to
Yeah,
either
Yeah,
download
my
or whatever.
biggest fear is having an API where you allow people to upload pictures and it's really easy to log in. I'm always like, that's not going to end well.
That's a lot
I
of
know.
that's a lot of data.
So I'm trying to, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm like on my project, like people like, why don't you have a sign up form? I'm like, because I don't want anybody to sign up. I don't want to see what you guys are going to put as a project. So I think like to fight that, I might use GitHub authentication and login. So you can't log in unless you have like a GitHub account. So at least like I know I'll get people that are kind of interested in coding and not everything else on the internet. So
Right.
That's true.
So
You
I
have
said
more?
something about April. Yeah, I
Sorry.
still have pay. You know, I still
You
have
have
some steps to
okay.
go
keep
through.
going. We,
We
we
can
got
I'm
we,
not
we
we got
can
it.
stopping
We
until
got
I
you.
we
We
get.
can
got
keep
you, brother.
going. We can keep going.
We
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah, yeah.
get through this.
So April once said, you know, in the chat that she had interviews, you know, lined up, but she didn't go because she didn't feel prepared. I really think that you should go to interviews because they'll get you prepared, you know, for that interview that's gonna get you the job, you know, the to
Yeah.
land the job. Never say no to interviews. I mean, the interview itself is an experience. They'll ask you some questions which you may or may not know the answers to, but they'll also give you the answers. Especially if you know if their developers are kind of good guys. I really like. I enjoyed most of my real interviews that I had because I had some real interviews as well, not just the ones that I talked about. I had, and they always give you feedback and they explain where you should work at and what you can improve and they give you a lot of productive feedback that you can use to better yourself. So never say no to interview. Go to the interview. What's the worst that can happen? If the guy's an douche, I don't know how to say it, in a
No, that's a
YouTube
good.
way.
Douche
That's
is good.
appropriate. This is appropriate. That's an
Douche is
appropriate.
good.
Okay.
The-
So if the guy's a douche, you don't want to work there anyway. So
Yeah.
if you don't want to have a douche boss, if you don't if there's no chemistry and no connection with the guy that is interviewing you, you don't want to go to that company anyway. I mean, I know, not landing your first job, you would want to go to that company anyway, but tell me, it's not gonna end well. A douche boss is a douche boss. It's not good. So go to interviews, ask questions to your interviewer. Even he has questions, fight back with your own questions. Okay, how do you do this? How would you do this? How can I improve? What curiosity you have, just throw it out there because it's an experience in itself and it will gain you more experience for the next interview. So
Yeah.
never say
That's.
no to an interview. Actually, yeah, go ahead, Paul.
I was gonna just add to not even add, just say like full agreement, the 100% is that interviewing is a skill in itself, which you get by going to interviews. And anytime you get an interview, like Alex says, definitely go. Also, like you're kind of opening up a relationship. You might not get hired that day, but it doesn't mean you can't reapply. And then you could reapply and be like, oh, like, like you kind of know what to expect. So I definitely 100%
Yeah,
keep going on those interviews.
exactly. So one of the other steps, me going back to the steps again, is start working on your portfolio as soon as possible. Like as soon as you can, write some code that sticks, so to say. Start working on a portfolio because you want to have your portfolio ready as soon as possible. Because like in motivational says, success comes when opportunity meets
Needs
preparation. So
preparation.
Yep.
that would, yeah, translated that into getting a job is opportunity is a junior position opening up next somewhere in your city next to you or something, and you can apply, but you couldn't apply because your CV is not ready, your portfolio is not ready, even though you are ready, as you feel like, yeah, I can nail this job because I have the knowledge, I have enough knowledge to work there. You just can't apply because you can't show them anything. So
So
have those
let me
ready as soon as possible.
let me
Yeah,
ask you a question from the interviewing process. What are the
yeah.
most, or like what in most order of importance would you say or equal was to get you hired? Do you think was it your resume? Was it the actual interview, or like outside showing your projects, or was it your portfolio?
La- well,
Which one
landing my
do you think
first
is
job,
the?
I think sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So landing my first job, I would say that they hired me based on my enthusiasm and ambition. I think. But they also asked me a lot of stuff about JavaScript. But I was so you could feel my how dedicated I was. I was like, at one point I actually told, like, you don't even have to pay me. I'll just come for the I work for free. Just want to learn. I want to build and I want to do stuff. And they kind of felt that, like, this guy's the real deal, because I was really serious about it. I would have done, job wise, anything. I would learn. I would, dedicate myself, put in the hours, and I made sure that they would understand that. And they looked through my portfolio, because it was a share screen thing, and I could see them going through my portfolio. But I don't. They also asked a lot of questions about it, like how. Well, not a lot, not a lot, but they asked me about the technologies, why I thought why I chose those technologies, what I plan in the future, like learn something new, learn new technologies. It was an open conversation, but it wasn't a difficult one. Like, a lot of people fear their first interview because they're gonna suck at it. But if they like you, they like you, and they put in the time to make you better, like, to help you evolve and learn stuff new. If they like you and they feel like that you have potential. Like, for my second job, I didn't have any portfolio. I don't even have a portfolio anymore. I just have my CV, and people reach out to me on LinkedIn like, "Hey, do you want to come interview for us?" That's how it works. And I'm only 1 year in. Imagine if I'd be like 5 years in. They probably offer me the
Yeah,
job. Like, "Hey, man, don't even interview. Here's a job."
the job.
I'm joking.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy how like the first job it's literally the hardest one to get, and then the second one becomes a little bit easier, and then like you said,
Yeah,
eventually people just see your resume. Like I get senior role positions, and I'm like, I don't even think I'm senior yet, but people constantly reach out to me, um,
yeah,
just based off LinkedIn and your resume after you worked in the industry for a little bit. And to your point, like you said earlier in the stream, everybody should have LinkedIn. Everybody should have
yeah,
LinkedIn.
yeah. That's the place to be for, if you wanna. It's the most serious platform when it comes to jobs, basically,
And apparently Twitter.
internationally. Yeah, I'm not that good on Twitter. I just
Yeah, I hate
started
Twitter.
using since I've been on this live stream. Like, okay, I have to be on Twitter, but it's I see so many people on like the feed. Like, who are these guys? I've
Listen,
I've never, I don't know how it works. Where are the
listen.
documentations for Twitter?
Somebody got mad at me, I think, like for some reason, because like I posted a video how to like manage your Twitter. So I just show how I just block stuff all the time, and it never shows up again. So I figured Twitter out finally. But like I'm on it because like I think there's few useful things you could do, like talk to John,
Yeah, yeah. That's
and
that's
that's
basically
it.
why I'm there. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
Yeah,
it. And,
exactly.
and then
keep
talk to
I,
Alex now.
I
Like
keep
that's good.
dragging people on
Yeah,
there
yeah,
just to
Yeah,
have
but
Twitter. Yeah.
conversation.
yeah.
Do you have
Yeah.
any
Let,
more
let me see.
notes, Alex?
He's got notes. Don't even ask that question. He's
He's
got notes.
got
He's
notes.
like halfway through his steps.
Yeah, so never stop applying would be one of them. If you get discouraged or nothing happens, just, oh, and by the way, if you like apply to 500 jobs and you don't get a call, just look through your CV again. Like, something needs to be restructured in that CV. Like, if you really don't get any, like, a phone call or a message or anything after a lot of jobs, then it's something wrong with your CV.
So
And
I let me
different.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, like this hit home to me because I was exactly what you just described, like
Yeah,
bajillion
I've
jobs,
seen your live stream about it. Yeah, I know.
and literally my resume. I didn't think it was bad. It was same information, but it was structured like where everything was like a paragraph, paragraph, paragraph. And
Yeah, yeah,
apparently, the thing to do is bullet points. And
yeah,
once I
yeah.
changed just the format of my resume, and a little bit more than that, but just doing bullet points, which made it very easy for people to skim like in 2 seconds and get a general idea where I'm at, like really made all
Exactly.
the difference. And I started getting more job offers, even though it's the same information. So
Yep.
yeah, I think that's
Yep,
awesome.
exactly. The structure is really, really important. And by the way, you don't have to make it a Word document. Like, there are platforms that you can build your CV on, and that download it as a PDF. So you can, use those platforms to make a really nice looking CV and just download from there, put the information in, and download, that structure of CV and apply. That's what I did. And for my first job, if you struggle with the information, for my first CV, in this IT area, I stole a lot of information from other developers on LinkedIn. Like, I went to their profiles and looked at what they were doing and said, okay, I do this, I can do this, I can do just take the information and write it down, tweak it for like from my perspective, and just put it on my CV. That's how I did it, because
Working smarter,
it's
not
hard.
harder. Listen, that because it's like if you know how to do it, why not word it the right way?
Yep.
Makes
Yeah,
sense. Makes
exactly.
sense.
Again, you don't have to
Exactly.
reinvent the wheel. You can, use
Yeah,
already
yeah.
the setups you have before you. And just to kind of give people perspective. When we talked throughout the week, you said like how many jobs you actually applied to before the first one you actually got and everything. Roughly, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. It's probably over a little bit over 200, because I
200,
had like
200.
I had like
That's
150.
dedication. That's dedication
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
book.
And I've wrote application letters, and I wrote emails to the companies, because I would see a job opening on, so let's say, on LinkedIn. You say, okay, this company is hiring. I would probably apply, and then I would go to the company's website, and they have contacts, and then I would get the email from the contact and just make an email like, hey man, look, I have it. I see that you guys have a job offering, a job opening. So here's my CV. I feel I can, write some words about, how could I could impact that role if I, could, and send that in, and then go on the recruiter's page, website, and LinkedIn page. Like, look, just to make sure they see me. I don't know if that's really actually a good idea, because they might say that you're over dedicated, or overdoing it. But these are ways to do it. You can either go to the LinkedIn page on the of the recruiter, go to the company's website, just apply to the job on LinkedIn. There's a way to do it. Just make sure they see you, because you could apply to a job and they probably won't see you if
Yeah.
there's like
And
200 candidates.
yeah, one thing I want to add to it, like, because there's a funny comment. Engine Boy says, I copied Paul's CV and replaced stacks on mine. And like, that's
Exactly.
great. And I think like that's what people should do, because you want to get and I hope it
Yeah.
got you a job, or because I don't want to be responsible if you're not getting hired, by the way. But what I'm saying is that here's the thing, like, resume will get you to the interview, but you still need to
Yeah.
pass the interview. So like there's no like you like when I think about like getting hired, you want to put your best foot forward, even if you like I'm not saying like definitely don't lie, because people will see through it, but you want to
Yeah. Yeah.
make
Exactly.
sure things really like is your best foot forward and you really stand out, so people are able to make a quick judgment and at least give you an interview. And then like they're gonna see if you're ready or not at the interview. But if you're not getting interviews, 99% of the time it's your resume not structured
Yeah.
appropriately, or
Exactly.
has
Yeah.
the appropriate like way that people expect to see resumes.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Do you have any more like list items
Yeah,
that
that's a good one. That was a
we
good
can
one.
definitely like what I'm even thinking we can definitely do it
I would share if Alex doesn't mind. I was gonna say like you could send John your notes and you could pin the notes in the description.
yeah,
I
sure.
know
Yeah, that'd be cool.
yeah, I would
Because not
we
because
could.
like it's because if someone like didn't see it or they want they like I think you have so much valuable information. It'll be a shame not to share it. In the
Yeah,
text
yeah,
form as
I
well.
will. I would definitely will.
Yeah.
I think we basically covered everything. So even though we weren't specific, like this is in my notes, we basically covered it when we were talking about, like, keeping motivation alive. Watch YouTube motivational videos, they would help. And one other, yeah, I found one more. Never compare yourself to the yourself looking in the future. Like, you want to be like a great developer and you're not, and you're comparing yourself to what you want to be. Always compare yourself to the guy that started off. Like, if I would compare myself to me starting off, like, I'm a genius now. I could do I feel like I can do anything. Like, I can
Exactly.
build Facebook at a point.
Yep.
Not the full Facebook, but I could build a
Yeah.
decent replica of Facebook at this point. When I started out, I didn't even know what a variable was. I didn't know what JavaScript was. I didn't know what Java was. Well, basically, I knew what they was, guys. I've heard the names before, but I didn't know anything about them. Like, nothing, absolutely nothing. I have no computer background. I wasn't good at math. I mean, I was good at math when I was using math in school, but now, I always use a calculator. Like, I'm no one special. Like, I all I did was work hard and kept the plan, dedicate myself, put in the hours. I wake up at 3 a.m., 3:30 in the morning just to do more coding, just to learn new stuff. So if you want to do
Beast.
it, you could do it.
I was gonna say, you said, in terms of comparison, and don't compare yourself to other developers that you work with,
Yeah.
especially if it's a new hire. I'm just speaking from
It
something that
sounds
happened to
like
me
you.
recently, like literally a day ago. And so we have this new hire, and I'm like, man, Jesus Christ, because I'm like got the imposter syndrome hard. I'm just like, I'm gonna look at his GitHub. I mean, he's a junior developer anyway, right? What
Uh,
can he possibly have on his GitHub? His top pinned project is this Pathfinder algorithm project, which has 8 different pathfinding algorithms that detect a path through a bunch of things. You could draw walls, it will figure out the fastest path. And I'm like, this guy's already a genius, And I'm like,
Yeah.
how? And I was just like, what am I doing? Because I literally took time out of my day that I
uh,
could have been more productive and went and literally like stalked someone's GitHub, then look at their projects, and then to my surprise, getting even more depressed because I'm like, how the hell this junior developer guy? Because you never know, and you have no idea where people are coming from, what previous experience you had, or if like what they did. And so the best thing you could do is just like compare, you know, yourself of yesterday to the person you are today, like Alex said, because they'll be
Yeah.
like motivating because you will see your progress and then you see that you're growing, and then if you just stick on that path you're going to get there.
I definitely
Exactly.
would want to like do this because, as far as I understand, Alex, you're working less than a half a year currently in your current company, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Less than a half
So
year.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely want to do it like some kind of update show where, let's say,
Yeah,
when
it'll be
you're
awesome.
half a year in, so then we
Yeah.
can then
Definitely.
we can like go through like, okay, so that was my first half a year. Like what things I noticed, what like, because this is going to be very very
Yeah.
interesting, that kind of first,
Yeah.
because this is, like it's not your first job, but this is like the massive company,
The
and
the
and
tech.
by,
Yeah. The
yeah, yeah,
tech. This is the tech job.
yeah,
Yeah.
like how
Exactly.
did you
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
approach, and that would be like very 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 interesting, and
I would love to come back. I would love to come back.
S-
And yeah, I
s-
forgot to mention the cold showers. I saw Tammy,
yeah,
mentioning. Yeah,
yeah,
I take cold showers. They would change your life. They would definitely change. Try one.
yeah,
Try
yeah,
one.
they will change your life by making you never
Ending
want to
it.
shower again, ever again. Like I don't know how I take a really scalding hot shower. Actually, I don't even like I take baths. I'm so spoiled. I
You
need like
take.
my bubbles,
You
my
take.
salt, like my incense, candle, and then think about code. That's my good time.
I actually I actually read somewhere that cold showers, they actually decrease your heart rate to a certain point, that and that eliminates stress. That's actually what got me into taking cold showers, because I get stressful sometimes, and I want to take the stress out, and cold shower, plus it wakes you up, like,
I'll
definitely,
agree with that. It
definitely.
wakes you up, but every
It
time I
definitely
told a
wakes me
cold
up, but
shower, every time I took a cold shower, that was the most stressed I've been in my life.
no, I only took when in my apartment buildings that didn't have hot water, but I wasn't looking for that. Like I wasn't like looking forward to
All
that
right, all right.
again. So
I'm gonna say there's a different. I mean, is this like in California cold showers? Or is this like
no,
during the winter?
Chicago, Chicagogo,
Okay, yeah, yeah, Chicago,
Chicago,
yeah, would be
Chicago.
real.
No, no,
So there's
I live.
California
different type
probably
of
would
cold.
be.
Yes,
Yeah,
there's
I
definitely
mean,
the
yeah, I
type.
mean, because in California, I mean, you don't get really below. I
No,
mean,
it's like
at
warm
nights
water,
you, I
lukewarm
mean,
water shower.
yeah, but during the day, you don't really get below around 70, I would say. Normally here, 70 Fahrenheit. I don't know what it is in Celsius. But during the night, you could. Like in California, it's not. Like actually, when the sun goes down, it gets pretty cold. Apart from, let's say, in Chicago in summer, that wasn't the case because of the humidity. But it is different over here.
So one time when I used to live in Connecticut, we had this huge snowstorm, like it blew out power and all this other stuff, and like there was no hot showers whatsoever. It's in the middle of the winter. I don't even know how the water didn't freeze. So I would literally let the water run, and then I would like go like this with my hands to get the vapors on myself, just the vapors, and then I would wipe myself with soap and towels, and that was my cold shower because I don't know how you guys do it. My aunt in Russia, she just goes swimming. I'm like, how
Yeah,
and
no,
why?
that's a
But I
different
hear it's
level.
healthy. It's good. I think
It's very
different
good for
people
you,
have.
but
It's
Yeah, it's good
yeah,
for your health.
I've
Yeah.
never really like, yeah, no, that for me was kind of I wouldn't go that far, but no, but for sure when I want to say, well, Alex says, well, he's not special. Well, for me, like the special part is one of the things that we always repeat, and that's again one of those things that no one can sell you in a course, but it's just literally persistence. It's getting
yeah,
up, keep going, and that's the one thing that again nobody can teach you. Nobody can, like, we can talk about it, but it's up to you to doing that. And for me, I've said this a million different times that, like, the more coding I do, the more people I see succeeding and failing. That is the, for me, the biggest difference maker, right? It's literally just about like continuing with the path instead of, and just treating, like Alex just said all throughout the episode, every step back is just an opportunity to learn and keep
To learn.
moving,
Yep.
right? You'll
yeah,
get down,
yeah,
you can
exactly.
feel sorry for yourself, you can grab the ice cream, you can grab the chocolate, you can watch the Netflix, but get back to work, right? Like,
Yeah,
there's a
exactly.
time to feel sorry for yourself, but you need to keep moving.
So, Alex, let me ask you a question. From
Yeah,
the time you started to learn to code, like your first time and getting your first job, what was the time frame for that?
it was under a year, but it was almost a year. I remember
Yeah.
exactly. It was like 11 months. I don't know how
Yeah.
other people do it. Did it in 3 months, without owning a computer and coding, at their girlfriend's house in the weekend. But for me, I put in like 5 to 8 hours of code every day, or at least three in some days. And it took me a little bit, almost a year. So
And at that point, did you work or part time or full time, or did you work at
no, so
all,
so
or you just left the job?
so I had a job most of that period, but I don't. It was a job that was really consuming me mentally because it was. Let me know. Let me think how to. It was really micromanaged. The role was really, really micromanaged. So it got to the point where I wasn't allowed to do anything, and then I was being accused of not doing anything. So I had to get out of there, and I focused on coding 300%. It's not something I advise to do. Don't quit your job unless it's you absolutely have to quit it. And make sure you have something to fall back on, because I had a little bit, I had some money in the bank, but I also had my family to support me, my wife, my family, my parents. They were all there for me. But I wouldn't advise you to do it. If you have a stable job and you're comfortable at the job, even if you hate the job, but if you're comfortable there and no one puts pressure on you, just go to the job, then have a 3 4 hours of code afterwards, or before the job. If you have a baby, I also had a baby. I had the small baby. My son was 8 months old when I started coding,
Oh,
so
wow.
imagine that.
No,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
that's
And
dedication, man.
and how old are
That's
you now?
definitely
Who, me or my son?
Well,
both,
you
both.
both. 8 months, you
I'm
said.
30.
Oh, when you started. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm 32 now, and he's two and a
There you
half.
go. Nice.
So you
Yeah,
basically started
yeah. So
around 30, and yeah,
Yeah.
no, I mean,
yeah,
That's awesome.
and now I'm coding after 30. So there's something about me.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's,
Listen,
sorry to interrupt.
two more serious questions. Engine Boy
Yeah,
says, he says off topic. I don't see why it's off topic, but he says, this is for John. I'm impressed how John still goes to the gym and has big muscles. So, John,
They
what is your
not
workout routine? What's
uh
do you do
used to be.
deadlifts? Like, do you still do
I know
deadlifts, or
your
do you?
favorites are deadlift. I love deadlifts. You know,
Yeah, yeah. I'm just saying.
the only one that I kind of not. I mean, I dislike the most, but I do them the most because I know that they're most beneficial.
Yeah.
Squats. I'm not like I
I
can do
too.
anything like deadlifts. I
No.
like doing deadlifts. Squats. You need,
Yeah.
like, I need to kind of force myself, but I still do it because I know how
Yeah.
beneficial they are.
I do like body weight squats because I hate them so much, and I just say that I don't whatever make some excuse. But I started doing deadlifts with a hex bar that
Mm-hmm.
works your legs more. So I'm like, there you go.
But
You
that
know,
isn't it also, I think I had like an issue with the back a little bit when I just stopped like working in construction. I basically messed up my back. So I think I tried with the hex one and it was easier on the
really?
back.
Oh
Kind of,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
it
hundred
wasn't
percent. Yeah, 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 yeah.
it
It's
wasn't
easier.
like Yeah,
It would
easier
be,
because
yeah,
when traditional you kind of like you
yeah,
need to
way,
like
yeah,
more bend
have
over
proper
as far as
form,
the
more bent over,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. But with that one you just kind of you're in that one.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, pro tip: if you have a messed up back for whatever reasons, but you still want to get benefit of the
Hmm.
deadlift,
Yeah,
doing it with
hex.
hex bar with the handles up, like more, so it's easier for you. It's a great tip right there.
Mm. I used to
Yeah.
like do a lot of the 5x5, basically, where you repeat
Yeah,
the
classic,
yeah, yeah, and this is
classic
again,
workout.
this is gonna one of those things that they invented it when in 1930s or whatever, and it's still the
Probably
best
like
one.
1800s, probably like
Yeah,
way back.
probably right. So it's not you do whatever exercise you want. I mean I was doing I think six of them, and you just keep doing it. But no, my by the way, no muscles. They're not big and whatever. I'm pretty much in the same boat as Alex. If I don't do it, I mean, I'm not gonna fit in the screen. So for me, like I literally like I always tell my wife if I let's say if there was a time when I stopped I don't know half a year ago for a week or two. Oh, I mean when the pandemic basically started,
Yeah.
I had to buy the
Gym's
weights
closed.
to put outside the my house because I was like, look, like honey, I'm not gonna fit on this couch soon. So I bet so it's for me definitely the case where if I don't do it and then it's gonna be issues. I'm not gonna fit in my clothes, and I really this is one of those perks that I do get to enjoy because when I was doing construction, there was no way I could do it because I had to show up in the office at 5 in the morning, like to start setting up the truck, and then we leave to whatever project and whatnot. And this is for me like one of those biggest perks with this job where I can say, look, I go and do what I want to do in the morning instead of running for the company or whatever.
So I had a job interview, even though it's like remote. I still dressed up for it, but I haven't had clothes to dress up for a long time because I've been happily employed and gaining weight. And so I went
Yeah,
to
I
the
know, I
store.
know, I know.
So I went to the store with my fiance. We were looking for clothes because I want to look sharp. And I find these pants, which are normally the size bigger that I would wear if I was heavier. And then I'm like, my fiance is like, you should try. I'm like, no, no, they're gonna be fine. They're gonna be fine. And then I'm like, right when we are about to pay, I better go and try them. So I go to the changing room. I put the shirt on. I'm like, it's a little bit tight, but it works. It works. I go put the pants on, and I can't even get the buttons to even touch. And I'm like, why? What is happening right now? And then you come out like, and you're like have to explain like, yeah, I don't want those pants. And she's like, why? They don't fit? No, no, I just
I don't
don't
I
like
like
don't
them.
them
like the
I
anymore.
just don't
style.
like them. I
Yeah.
just don't like them. And then it's like, why you look sad? I'm not sad. Like, I think you're crying. No, I'm not. I'm good. I'm perfectly fine. So I wore the nice shirt with sweatpants because I figured unless the camera falls, they're not gonna see it. So it worked out.
Yeah, no, that
Pretty
that is one of those things going through the old clothes, and then you notice that
Yeah, yeah,
something
they
that I
don't
did,
fit anymore.
yeah,
Yeah,
some I went off track somewhere, but but it's one of those things where I keep them as a motivator. I'm like, look, I need to
yeah.
like I need to get back to that whatever it
I
was.
always
So
do that. I always do that. I
so
actually have new clothes in my wardrobes, new stuff that I and my wife always buys me clothes and like, what size should I am like L? But you're an XL. Like, yeah, but I'm gonna lose the weight, and I have
yeah,
tons of new
there's no
clothes in
point,
there that
yeah, to
I'm
buy a bigger one because I'll be back to that. Yeah, yeah, no,
yeah,
no, that's the
exactly.
biggest motivator for me as well. Yeah.
But I did hear the best advice, and I was like, I can't believe it was actually a really good advice. And because I was looking how to look your best at whatever shape you're in. And so basically, don't buy the clothes of the body you want to have, buy the clothes
Yeah,
that perfect for the body that you have. And so I feel
exactly.
better
Yeah.
because I don't feel like I'm getting strangled every 5 minutes. Like,
But
like
listen, how
pulling it
was
up.
it for you when you were like actively in jujitsu, or as far as weight classes? Were
So
you
my
like
normal
doing?
weight, like I was like like when I was like super fit, like to put things in perspective, super fit, I would be like 149 because I'm
Jesus.
like 5'7", but normally I would be 165, you know, and now I'm like a lot more than that. So like like my fiance is like, "What happened to the guy that I met?" And I'm like, "He's probably like 10 years like behind right about now." Like because like literally, I have to work really hard to lose weight, and So
But did you do
for me,
any
it's all
crazy diets
dieting.
before the
I
tournament? Because jiu-jitsu
No,
is
no, I
one of
never.
those things that you
No,
cannot
no.
really I
Yeah,
mean, meaning you need to be like in a weight in the morning. Like you
yeah, yeah,
cannot
yeah.
show up there
Yeah,
day
you can't show
before or
up and
whatever.
then try to regain or
Yeah.
whatever, rehydrate. No, you always have to be like the weight that you're on. No, like the only diet that I did, like the two things that work for me is cut out all sugar and do intermittent fasting. That's when I lose weight. Anything else than that, like it's just like gain weight. Interesting thing. So my fiance is tiny, and she and I stayed at a Airbnb, and we both ate the same food, and I gained weight, and she didn't. And so like
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
that
that
issue with
happens. That happens.
metabolism and
Yeah,
the
yeah. I
sugar
hate it when that
and like
happens.
the sugar, yeah. And so 100% for me, it's like I like keto, but you like but it has to be like still a lot of vegetables and stuff like that, but no sugar, no nothing, because that's like something I like. If I eat sugar like for a weekend, I'll gain like 6 pounds, 100%.
For
That's
me, it's
crazy.
intermittent
Yeah,
fasting. But I need to schedule it like basically so the meal is not at 1 o'clock, let's say in the afternoon, because then I know that in the evening I'm gonna be like, look, I'm hungry, I'm gonna eat. But if am able to drag it out to let's say 4 something, then I eat pretty much whatever I want, sort of. I mean, I don't have massive cakes, but just normal meal,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
But you
yeah,
eat,
yeah.
and then I'm fine because I have this thing where I'm really like I'm one of those people that like to have food before going to bed. Not
Oh
like
my
I
god,
cannot
so good,
sleep with an empty stomach.
so
I
good.
know
Yeah.
some people can. What about
You
you,
know who,
Alex?
who I was gonna say, who else
well,
eats food and goes to sleep? Sumo wrestlers.
Yeah, and they're very
I
successful.
know. Yes.
when I'm in the mood going out and eating, I usually have I have a large breakfast containing a lot of vegetables and meat if it's possible, like chicken and all that stuff. And then I eat like twice a day. The second meal will be at around 1 a.m. or 1 p.m., like another big on vegetables and all that stuff. And then I maybe have a shake, like fruits of yeah, a fruit shake in somewhere around like 4 or 5, and basically that's it. And I
But
work
as
out
far
like
as
3 times a week, but
Romania, is it?
that's only when I'm in the mood. When I want to specify when I'm in the mood, like when I'm in that I'm gonna lose weight, mindset,
Mm,
like the warrior, the Iron Man mood. Other
Yeah,
but
than
yeah,
that,
yeah.
I eat like crazy.
but as far as the let's say Romania, is it similar to Russia and Latvia where it's like meat and potatoes kind of all day long?
Yeah, basically, yeah, yeah. Our
Oh,
food is
good.
actually
That's
really, really
true,
good.
man.
If you guys ever
I'm sure
visit,
it is.
you're
We're,
gonna
we're,
love
we're
the
gonna
food.
Yeah,
visit.
I
We're gonna
can I
visit
can
for
Yeah,
imagine.
sure.
yeah,
I
Yeah.
yeah.
I can see
The
that.
food, the food is great. Yeah, you can see it on me.
No, no,
Look
no,
at it.
no. Meaning like, but listen, what's the best time to come to Romania? Like, if somebody would
Well,
be
it
wondering,
depends.
like summer?
If it depends what you want to visit. If you're a mountain guide, then come in winter because we have great mountains. And if
For
you want
skiing
to,
and the whole 9 yards. Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. It's beautiful, but you can come. There's always something to see in Romania. There's a lot of place to visit, and you would like it. And the people are nice and kind, and I don't know how they receive you well. I don't know how to say that in English.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
They're yeah, you'll love it. And the food, you might move here once
No,
try the
Yeah,
food.
exactly.
I have heard. Yeah, I've heard that. Like, no, Romania is
No,
definitely on my bucket list. Like, I think it's definitely one of those places where I think there's a bunch of places that are actually kind of like off the radar. They're not. There's not
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah,
like Paris or whatever. But you actually will have way more interesting experience than whatever the traditional spots that you hit all the time. So yeah, it's for sure
yeah. You definitely
something that
won't get bored in Romania. Trust me, you'll love it.
a
Plus the
lot.
nightlife, when there's a life, not a pandemic
Yeah,
life. You'll
yeah.
you guys would love that as well.
listen, we're past beyond that. We're with our significant
Paul is
others.
like,
We don't fucking
Paul
do
is
that
like,
stuff anymore.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
guys. So we have been for 1 hour 50. I think, like, first of all,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I messed it up in the
Can I dive
beginning.
into
My mind.
questions now? Just
Yeah, we
joking.
can start. We just finished with your list, so now we
We
can
were going
start
through
doing.
Yeah.
questions as we were looking through stuff.
No, my question
What?
for you guys.
Oh,
No question. No questions. I'm just kidding.
No questions. Okay.
But like I said, we
We're kidding. We're kidding.
definitely,
Yeah,
you know,
we're kidding.
there's multiple things. First of all, again, massive thank you for everything that you do behind the scenes as far as
My
answering
pleasure.
questions and helping other people. Like, and this is clearly people can see like you had so much cool things to share that are very useful, and they're way more useful than whatever content you get from whatever
Exactly.
clickbait stuff, because this is a real
Clickbaits.
person
Yeah, exactly.
with real like plan and real kind of approach to that. And
What are you talking about? He's a paid actor. We send him a
yeah,
huge check.
we got him
We
there.
make so much money on this podcast of ours that we paid him like $500,000. That's how
Yeah,
he made his money.
that
I wish that would be true. I
Alex,
wish that.
what?
I
Talking
wish.
about, I
and
got the
I,
check. What check?
and like definitely, like I said, we definitely would want to do that, let's say half a year in, just to see, just and that could be not only what you did, like what's happening in the company, what you see as far as your learning, what you see in as far as, you know, web dev overall, because I really like you that, you know, you're basically keeping track and notes of whatever that's happening, and I think that it was very interesting episode for me. So that's about it. What about you, Paul? You want to sign off, and then we'll let Alex say his final.
Well, I'm gonna.
Oh,
Alex said he had a question. I want to hear it now. I want to hear his question. Like,
Alex, do you have a
go
question
ahead,
oh,
for us?
okay.
Alex. Well,
So
your
I
question.
actually I have curiosity for you, Paul. You said you work at a contract. It's a contract job,
Ye-
right?
Yeah. Yep.
So could you have a full time job as well besides that contract job?
Not
Like if
if
you
I
would
like.
decide to have a side job that would be full time,
So
could you keep?
so right now I'm working full time as a contract role, and where the project is right now, like they need me to work full time. But the thing with this role, depending on how the project works, my hours could get cut to like 30 hours a week or 20 hours a week. So it doesn't have that security that like a normal job will. And like what I'm banking on is that all the effort I'm putting in now, the project that we're creating will get picked up and we'll get users that will hopefully pay us money, and then they would hire me full time to continue to manage the project. In terms of like working somewhere else, if I were to get another job, my boss is okay with me working whatever hours. He just wants me to let him know in advance, like, okay, I could only work 20 hours a week or 10 hours a week, so that way I'll be
Mhm.
open to a full-time job and stuff like that. But for now, like, I'm working like 40 hours a week, and where we are in our project, we have like a deadline coming in, and he's like, he doesn't make it mandatory, but he's like, hey, if you want to work more hours, there's nobody stopping you. So that's kind of where I'm at. But the issue sometimes with like contract roles, because I know a lot of people get excited about freelancing, contract roles, all this other
Yeah,
stuff, is
yeah,
that
yeah, exactly.
a lot of them don't give you benefits or insurance. So that's something you have to pay out of pocket. Like, I know it depends where you live, but in US, like if your company doesn't provide insurance,
It's a
you
big
have to
deal,
provide it. Yeah,
like
you have to
Yeah.
provide
health
yourself. And the
insurance.
unfortunate part, if you make, there's like a certain like amount of money you make, you're kind of like in this gap where you're not poor enough to get like cheap insurance rate, but you're not rich enough to
Yep,
afford the insurance that they're giving you. And so you end up like, when I used to work self-employed, my insurance had $10,000 deductible just so I could have a low monthly, like, because I didn't want to pay like $500 a month. I want to pay like, or whatever it was. It's like ridiculous. So I had like a high deductible, and then I had like, my knee injury, and I was like, damn, that's a lot of money you have to pay, but they covered the rest. So like, that's one benefit. Like, for a lot of people, I say, like, if you want to have peace of mind, have like insurance and all these other benefits like 401k and whatever, like working at a company and not as a contractor, you know, that's not a bad deal. Or if you find a contractor that do have benefits, because I know some of them do provide that. Yeah.
Yeah.
any
Cool.
last
So
words, Alex? You
Yeah,
want
I
to
have a
pass on
question
to?
for John now. No, I'm kidding. I'll ask you on Twitter. I'll ask you, actually, it's a course curiosity, but I'll ask it on Twitter.
Sure.
Well, for
John,
last thought,
I have a question for John. Like you have
Yeah.
black furniture, you have black headphones, you have a black shirt, you have a black microphone, you have a black cat. What's going on, John?
Uh, black. I mean, it's kind of all dark brown, but
Okay, so I can't. Okay,
no,
it's
but
not you, John.
Yeah,
It's me.
it's
You
kind of
need
bad
glasses.
from my point, from my side
Yeah,
as well.
yeah,
it's I don't know. I'm not big on like I don't know. I mean, I like blue, gray, and black colors. I guess it's mostly in whatever in the yeah in the house and whatnot, and it's not. I have very little red in as far as my clothes or whatever. But yeah, it's
yeah,
sometimes too much. I go out of my way right now to kind of spice it up a little bit. But yeah, initially I had
I
different
like black
ones.
because it makes you feel it makes you look slim.
slimmer,
Like
Yep,
if you wear a black
100%.
yep.
It
shirt, you're
works.
slim. Yeah.
Yeah, it
So I
works.
Yep.
always wear black.
Black is the
Black
way to
everything.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nothing special, but yeah, that's just
yeah.
kind of
I'm
sticking
just
to that. Just
gotta have fun.
feel like neutral, whatever this is gonna be. But
I thought living in California, you're like part of these religious group. No, just kidding. Like not even religion, like a heavy metal cult that nobody knows about. Like late at night, John like picks out an electric guitar and like shreds a solo. Like before going to
well, I
sleep.
still
I
need to
was just
grow my
wondering.
hair to for
Yeah,
that. I
yeah,
mean, I'm
yeah,
still lacking
yeah, yeah.
the getting
It's
here,
like
but yeah, that's
yeah,
nothing like. I guess it kind of comes back to. I remember that like in Latvia when I was growing up, it was never like people were very like what's to say, you know, conservative with their colors. They were not. So I guess I'm just not keeping the way or whatever. So
yeah. But man,
Yeah.
Alex, it was such a good pleasure having you.
It was an
And
honor for
really,
me to be here.
yeah,
Another great honor.
yeah,
Thank
really
you
good
guys for
tips.
having me.
Send those tips our way because I think it'll be cool
I
to share because you had like really really good tips. I learned
Thank you.
some things, even though like I'm a man enough to admit it that I learned something like a lot of things in the stream. So it
yeah,
was
me
really
too.
really good. Thank
Me
you.
too. It was
Yeah,
really nice.
Thank
Um,
you for having.
yeah, and
and
we'll definitely do it again.
and to sound
I would love
off,
to. I would love to.
strappy. No, just kidding. No, no. Thank you all.
I've noted down. I've noted down
Yeah,
to
yeah.
just
Yeah,
check it out
thank
to
you
see what it
all
is. Because
who came, yeah, and made time and enjoyed this
yeah,
wonderful
smash the like and subscribe
Friday.
button. By
Smash
the
the
way,
like and all the buttons that we have.
Yep.
But one thing that I like about it is that literally whenever we do these talks, like I literally feel like I'm sitting in the living room across from you guys and we're just having a chat. And I think that's like
exactly.
amazing because we're not pretending for like or acting for the like likes or the views or whatever. We just like let's talk about something that we're interested in. And weirdly enough, it's like the same things that other people want to hear, like that are actually serious about making changes. So having Alex, like who's a self-taught developer, no college CSS like background, no computer science background, self-taught all the way, got hired, changed his life, doing amazing. And so hearing from people like Alex, like I would argue it's even more appropriate for anyone looking to switch careers or do something new because you're learning from someone who actually did it and they know the struggle
Yep.
because it's fresh in their mind. So thank you,
Yep.
Alex, for sharing your story with
My
us. It was
pleasure.
really awesome.
It was
And
a pleasure. And the struggle
yeah,
is real, but guys. By the way, the struggle
yeah,
is
yeah,
real. It won't
struggle
be
is
easy.
real. Don't
If
believe the
anyone
hype.
tells you otherwise, yeah,
Don't
don't
believe the
just don't.
hype. Don't believe the hype. So but yeah, with that being said, thank you all guys. John, thank you, of course. Always
Yep.
awesome.
Always awesome. Always
Always
awesome to
awesome. Yeah.
talk. All right.
See you guys in the chat.
See ya.
Next
Yeah,
week.
see you
See
guys
ya.
later.
See ya.
Have
All
a good
right.
one.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Have a good one. Bye bye.
Awesome.